Hey everyone, we're right at 2 o'clock, so I think it's time to get going with our next panel for the next 45 minutes. We'll be talking about employer branding. So very excited to welcome our five panelists today. In case you are just tuning in for the first time, this is technically introduced virtual. Here, we're having a day-long event where we're talking about building companies, building better companies, and yes, we are talking about doing that during a time of a lot of change and yeah, frankly, a global pandemic. So really happy to be able to kick off the conversation here today. Broadly, I think during the economic shock that we are seeing, we do have disruption among companies and seeing that maybe that's a time when you really start to think about brands that might be a time of retreat, but also it's a time, something that I've been thinking a lot about is, and talking to folks about it, is really when we learn a lot about what these brands and specifically employers and what they're really all about. So today we're going to discuss about how to talk about company values and the work and when it gets tough during this time. But thought we can maybe start by let's definitely introduce our panelists. So if we could go down it's presented as a line for me, so I'll just call it going down the line. But so maybe we could start with tell us who you are and where you are, and maybe give us a little bit about where you're tuning in from today, since that's different for everybody. So Luke, do you want to take us off?
Sure. My name is Luke Skurman. I'm CEO and founder of Lynch. We're based in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We help students and parents research what schools are really like. So we have all the quantitative information, all the qualitative information on all 130,000 schools across the United States. I'll stop right there unless you want me to keep going.
No, that's great. Where are you at home today, or where?
I'm at home. Everyone thinks I'm in an office right now, but it's just the home office right now. We've kind of got it set up pretty well right now.
Cool. Yeah, I love I did a story earlier on seeing everyone's work from home situations, and so love those insights where we can get them. Anyway, Kursten.
Hi, I'm Kursten Jackson. I am with Baltimore City Government's the Baltimore City Office of Information and Technology. I'm their Chief of Human Resources, and I am working in Baltimore today, working from home in Columbia, Maryland.
Great, and John.
Hi, my name's John Lynch. I'm the COO of Cloud Tamer. We're a software startup. We're based in Fulton, Maryland. Basically, what we do is many organizations they're struggling to scale in the cloud and control spend, ensure security and compliance, which is really big topic right now, especially with everybody going to a remote workforce. And as our name suggests, we really help tackle a lot of these challenges, and we can make sure that companies and organizations are managing budgets, managing their data, and making sure everything remains private and secure. We've helped many companies from small startups to really large enterprise organizations trying to move to mass adoption. So.
Great, Mandy.
Hi, I'm Mandy Poling. I'm the Chief of Staff for Crossbeam, Philly-based startup, and we power partnerships through B2B business data sharing. And so a SaaS product, a team of about 24 people in Philly and across the country.
All right, and Anna.
Hey guys, my name is Anna Greenwald, and I am the owner and CEO of On the Goga. So we're a Philly-based organizational well-being company. Speaking of values, our guiding principle is happy people do great things. So essentially we help our clients build employee wellness programs, leadership development programs, and systems that make their workplaces happier, healthier, and more productive.
Great, all right. And so yeah, I just really wanted something I've been thinking a lot about and talking to folks a lot about as to start off with knowing that this is kind of a time of change, and it's really a time when I think companies are both in the way that they're doing business internally and the way that they talk about themselves when it comes to, and seeking talent and looking to tell what they do to new talent. It's really a time when I've found that a lot of folks are returning to those core values and the mission of what really, why they're really doing the thing in the first place, So yeah, maybe we could just start in on if you could talk about one thing that you really feel like, along those lines of mission, of values, of the reason you're here that you think is really coming through during this time. So Anna, you're front and center for me. So could you start us off with that one? Right.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been on our mind so much right now, both internally and with our clients. So one of our core values here at On the Goga is practice your practice, right? So that essentially means make sure that what you're putting out there is what you're doing internally as a team. And so what this looks like for us right now is that we've been taking a lot of time to listen right now to our employees and hear and understand what they need, and listen to our clients and hear and understand what they need. And at the end of the day, our mission is to help make the world a happier, healthier place. And that doesn't change, but the how we do that looks a little bit different now. So for a really specific example of that, normally we're on site in the office. I've heard a couple of people talk about this in panels earlier today, but that's a big part of company culture most of the times. What is experience like in the office? And right now it's like, what is experience like for people in their homes as they interact with the company? And so for us personally, we are coming back to, all right, how do we make the world a happier, healthier place? And I think that consistency of values, are you delivering on your mission? Are you delivering on your values? In that way, can it be consistent from, pre-COVID to post-COVID? That consistency and authenticity brings trust with clients. It helps people understand that you're really there to help and you're not kind of moving into new territory just because it's there. But also internally with your teams, I think, and we see this a lot with clients as well, if you can use this time to fall back on your values and your mission, it builds trust and it helps people feel like they really have that place to go back to within their company and kind of know, this is what my company really stands for, and I appreciate that. So I think this has been coming out personally in our organization, but definitely with our clients. Everything we've been doing right now, wellness programs, resources, communication plans, is all built around mission, vision, and values.
Great. Yeah, I think Mandy at Crossbeam, what's kind of the internal? What are some internal things that you've been really falling back on as you as you're talking about what you do to talent, to prospective folks that you're looking to work with?
Yeah. So we have, one of our core values is that trust is our business. So sort of what you were kind of referring to, and that's external to our clients because we're handling data, and that's super just, that's at core to everybody's concerns out in the world right now. But that also extends to our internal team, just major transparency from the leadership team about what this means for us. But then, on the other side of that, one of our values is this is fun, and just recognizing how privileged we are to have the jobs that we do, to have the flexibility that we have, to have, the ability to not skip a beat operationally, and really embrace the fun part of the work, but also of the team, even virtually. So tonight, we try to get out as a team when we're in person, and sometimes the remote team will fly into Philly. Obviously that's not happening. So we have, we've hired a trivia master tonight and breaking out into teams. And if anybody wants his name, he's amazing. He's doing a Zoom trivia night with us. So just trying to make sure that we really don't lose that connection and the fun piece of things right now. And also just kind of realizing, reminding ourselves kind of how grateful we are to be in a relatively fortunate position.
Hmm. Yeah, and I like fun. I love to hear those examples of fun as well, because that is things that really come through. I think in a lot of ways when yes, communicating the mission of what you're doing, but also that we can still lay back even during a stressful time. So
And we've been onboarding new team members during this. And so, this is also a way to like break out into smaller groups and like get to know people in a little bit more one-on-one. Must be kind of an odd feeling to be joining a company during this time, but we've onboarded quite a few staff members in the past month. And so, grateful to have the chance to connect with them as well.
Mm-hmm. Great. Yeah. And just shouting out that we have a poll up right now for the everyone tuning in from around the region at home. So you could fill that out, and then that'll help us, to also have some questions to direct. But Luke, out in Niche, when you think about values and mission and really how you're talking about yourself, any way that changed or anything you're really returning to along those lines?
So our mission is to make researching and enrolling in schools easy, transparent, and free. And that's, we have that clarity internally, and we're starting to work on communicating that more and more externally right now. We just completed our Series C financing, so we're 120 people. We're still hiring right now. So we're trying to get that message out to the market right now. There's some amazing people right now that have had unfortunate circumstances. I know there's 30 million Americans that are unemployed right now, and there's a lot of businesses that are struggling, and we're hiring. We want to just be sensitive to that moment that people are struggling, but we do have some jobs open. We established our values about 2 years ago, and those guide us really well. Our values really quickly are being a team player, candid, resourceful, driven, and systematic. One of the things that I've been really proud about over the last 8 weeks is there's just some norms that we've established. Like every Monday morning, we have a full company stand-up. Typically that's in our office in Pittsburgh. And now, we're doing that virtually, and we haven't really missed a beat. We have a manager meeting. We have sales meetings. We have different things that have really transitioned just flawlessly, whether it's Slack, whether it's Zoom meetings, whether it's, but we've been able to find ways to just keep the business trucking forward in a very effective way during a very turbulent moment. We were an organization, frankly, that would show up to the office every day, and everybody was pretty much in person. And we've embraced now working remotely in a huge way. I think it's totally going to be changing the way we think about talent go forward. I think we're going to be hiring people remotely. I think we're going to be hiring people in a much more flexible environment go forward. So we're trying to really embrace this and better ourselves and look at this as a positive and develop that muscle right now in a big way.
Yeah, and Kursten, with mission, I think about city government and serving the public is right there, front and center, right? So, but as you're looking to candidates and attracting talent and really working with people internally right now, how are you talking about what you're doing within BCIT?
Okay, well, so for BCIT, we actually have our own specific mission for what our agency does, and that is to provide sustainable infrastructure in technology to support and enhance city departments, communities, business, and the mayoral goals. So we have, and we also have values that are specific to BCIT as well. And our values are actually, there's an acronym, I CARE. It's innovation and excellence, customer focus, accountability and credibility, respect and inclusion, and efficiency. So one of the nice things about the values, we sought a lot of feedback to make sure we were really trying to target the things that were important to the people that we interact with. We feel like the values are consistent, and they really still stand up during this time and would stand up during any time, because part of what our job is to react to changing circumstances, to innovate, to be able to understand what those customer focused needs are so that we can respond to them. So what we're able to do is still reference this mission, reference these values, and we do it even more frequently now. I know that was one of the questions, that's the poll question, so I'm answering that for you as well. But so we share it when we are interviewing, we share it when we have people coming on board, we share it in all of our all hands meetings with our staff. So we really are trying to reference and share that while there's a lot that's changed and our immediate focus, how we're going about carrying out this mission is different right now. It still is the same in that we're reacting to what are the needs, and the needs are helping the city be able to function in this new remote world, helping the citizens of Baltimore be able to function in this new remote world. So we're able to, it's really been able to, I think, even more demonstrate how we're doing the things that we talk about are important for us to do, and the purpose of why we come into work every day.
Yeah, I love that. Really showing, being able to show that work at this time, I think it's so key, and something that, you know, because the world has changed to some extent, but it's also in some ways a platform that, you know, is big for people to really show what they're doing in response to this. So, John, Cloud Tamer, you know, have you been growing during this time? How are you talking about it? So.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've actually been growing pretty rapidly. Over the course of the last year, we've you know, tripled the number of staff we've had, doubled the number of customers, and have been experiencing some really rapid growth. So, you know, coming into a situation where everything kind of gets turned upside down, you know, it does make you kind of pause and have to look and make sure you're really growing in the right areas. But, you know, in terms of value, in your company values, I think it's really important to make sure that, you know, these are your guiding set of principles for how you can, you know, run your business and how everybody works in it from day to day. And with Cloud Tamer, we really believe in having an employee first company. You know, if you don't have exceptional employees, you'll never build exceptional product. And we want to make sure that if you know, everything we do, every decision we're making is always, you know, thinking about the employees first, and then hopefully everything comes easy after that. But you know, the more great employees that you bring and build into your company, it's going to become natural finding even more great people to add into it, because your best resource is the people you have to find and recruit new talent. So it's one thing that we really strive to push for. The other thing is, you know, in terms of core values, early on, we got together with kind of the initial group of employees we had. There was about 10 of us when we first started. And we all collectively sat down and came up with the values for our organization. And we wanted to make sure that they were simple and that we could easily bake them into everything we do. And, you know, use those as a way to kind of gauge who we're bringing into our culture in the future. Make sure that, you know, the people that we're interviewing, the people that we need to increase our team and build a better product, fit in with those values and fit in with what we want to be as an organization. So doing those early in a company made it really easy to kind of have something to always look back on, and something that's a constant that you can leverage as a resource.
Great, love that. And yeah, so for folks who are out there at home, I just wanted to, or you know, wherever you're watching from, if you do have questions, we have the you can use the Q&A section, which is just at the bottom, in the middle portion of the dashboard there in the bottom. Yeah, we did get our poll results in while we were talking. Our question to the crowd was that you know, we were really trying to find out if folks were, you know, how were they still thinking about employer branding during this time, and is that still a focus? And you know, 43% of us said yes, but you know, it's an increased amount of focus actually, but you know, as far as the marketing perspective, it's different, right? So so yeah, maybe does anyone want to take up the you know, has it changed for you? Does anyone? I'll leave it up to the crowd, or up to the panel here. So.
I was going to say, I love the 13% that are still watching, but said, what the heck is employer branding? So I wanted to just like take a second to how we talk about employer branding and on the Goga.
Love that. Yeah.
Essentially, employer branding is how people talk about your company. So that looks like, how are your employees talking about your company? Like, what are the conversations that are happening in the private Zoom channels and the private Slack channels about how your company is handling this situation? But also, you know, we've all had the experience of working with awesome companies or knowing people that work with awesome companies that are like, oh man, like, you got to come work at this company, right? You got to come work at IT for the City of Baltimore. Like, and that ENPS, that employee net promoter score, how likely are you to recommend your company to a friend as a place to work? So I think that, you know, everyone's insights here are so interesting because I think we all come from a different part of this employer branding perspective. But it's, you know, I think it's what Kursten said about values was so interesting to me because, you know, this really is this employer branding moment, how people are going to talk about what you're doing. Rakia actually said this a couple panels earlier. She said, it's all about howdidtheyhelp.com. People are going to talk for a long time about how your company is handling the situation. And what Kursten said is the why shouldn't change, right? And I think everybody's kind of expressed that. Right now, why falling back on your values and your mission is so important is because that's your why. And the best whys for companies should apply no matter if you're selling socks or SaaS products. So the why doesn't change. It's all about the how. And I think that there's a lot of different ways to approach the how right now that make your employees feel cared for and supported, and also make your customers feel cared for and supported. And that's where that through line that I was talking about earlier comes in. Your customer experience and your employee experience have always been, they should be mirrored, right? But now that's just so much more relevant and important and so much more visible. So just wanted to point that out because I think that's a great, that 13% of you are still watching being like, what's employer brand? But that's my best explanation if anybody wants to add to that.
No, that's technically we pride ourselves on really being able to explain those terms. So, you know, and being able to make them as accessible as possible. So that's excellent. Love that. Does anyone else maybe want to take up the question of how, you know, how we really, yes, we're still pushing forward with the marketing and how we talk about ourselves, but you know, did this time call for a different approach or that you started to apply?
Yeah, I can add on a little bit to what Anna was saying. You know, especially the employee net promoter score that you mentioned. I had a few notes about that actually, because one of the things I'd say we amped up. We've always been really big on communication, both internally and externally, with, you know, customers, but our employees as well. One thing we try to do is we always want to share knowledge across everything that we're doing. So in this time with a lot of uncertainty, employees specifically are just looking for, you know, a little bit of comfort, a little bit of knowing that, you know, at least something in their life can be constant and be safe. So we have really amped up the amount of communication we're doing with our employees to make sure that we're communicating, you know, what our plan is. Even if we don't have a plan, we're telling them that we're working on a plan. They just want to hear that. And it's really, really helped us, I think, increase our employer brand. So we do the employee net promoter score survey every quarter. We just did one recently. We actually got back the highest score we've ever gotten, and like by a wide margin. And I really believe that the bulk of this is just because we've been communicating and people understand where we're going as a company and that we're going to be there for them. So, you know, if you continue to do that, you'll build really, really loyal employees and just grow an amazing team, you know, over the course of your business.
We've been, I think internally, we've gotten some nice feedback, you know, every Monday at stand up and whatnot at our company. The first thing that I've been emphasizing every time is everybody's health and well-being is priority number one for us. A lot of the things we've talked about, even though we're reforecasting the year and we're not going to quite do as well as we thought at the beginning of the year, is that job security is number one. So, you know, we want people to be safe. We want them to be healthy. We know this is stressful. We know there's a lot going on, and we're staying on that point. We're not just saying it once. We talk about it every single time we're group in that meeting, and I think people feel that that's really sincere. We just talked internally on Friday. I know that, you know, Governor Wolf here in Pennsylvania is starting to open up the state, but we're going to be 100% remote till at least the minimum of July 31st. We are a software company. We're functioning really well, and we just wanted to embrace this moment and just make sure that we're absolutely putting our employees' well-being as number one. That was received extremely well internally. So we're trying to really be proactive on these tough issues right now. But yeah, I think to John's point, extra communication, really showing empathy, being sincere, those are some things that have, I think, helped us in this moment right now, communicate with our employees in a really great way.
Great.
Yeah,
thanks.
and we have no, if you're ready to move on, that's fine. But I was just going to say that, we feel, one thing I've been doing as we're, fortunate enough to be hiring right now is making sure in those early conversations with candidates that they're reassured about the thoughtfulness that we put into keeping roles open. That was something we of course paused for a moment to just gut check, are we still in the right place to be doing this? And we're lucky. But also just as this was all kind of unfolding, First Round Capital is one of our investors, and they have great content. So they did a founder interview with our co-founder and CEO, Bob, and it was going to be a more business, tactical kind of type of an interview. And they pivoted smartly to kind of running a business through uncertainty. He started his first company in 2008 in that last economic downturn. So kind of some lessons learned. And I've just been sending it proactively to every candidate that I'm talking to in my follow-up email, so they understand from his perspective, in his words. So having that to point to from the founder level has just been incredibly helpful in those employment, in those early conversations, to provide some reassurance.
Sorry about that. I was the guy on mute. Anyway, so we do have a question from the audience. From Vanessa is talking about, we have brought on new hires and struggle how to integrate them into the existing communication relationships and building a network within. Other than more Zoom meetings, our company is doing something different for that onboarding, that new hire, to really help them understand the company branding and how you talk about yourselves, as we've been talking about. Mandy, knowing that you had remote employee, I think you said you were, kind of not fully distributed, but somewhat over even before, we were all working from home. Any thoughts there on that onboarding process?
Yeah, I don't know that I have like the magic answer, aside from, the more Zoom meetings and things like that. But I will say that staying connected, like socially and kind of like, again, on the fun side of things, just helps to kind of break the ice and keep people more comfortable. Silly things maybe, but like explaining some of the inside jokes that are unfolding over Slack, or giving people context so that they're not feeling kind of out in the cold. But then, also I'd say, just really making sure that we're talking about it. We have people in all different scenarios and stages of their employment, people like me who's been there from the get-go, to people that we brought on literally last week. So it's making sure that they understand that one thing I keep hearing from our new hires is like, sorry to bug you. And I'm, so being really explicit with like, in no way, shape, or form, like my job is that you become successful and fully onboarded as a team member. So just really keeping that like open, I think is also really important, and getting them to stop apologizing for slacking me.
Yes.
I'd love to speak to that too.
Go.
So we've actually onboarded a couple of employees, and working remote is new for our organization. I imagine most people who work for city government or government, that's not as much, the norm. So we very quickly have to shift and think differently about what we would be doing. So I spent a lot of time with my team talking through, okay, what does this look like in my team of three of us? We talk about it every day. We talk about it regularly. What is the experience that we are bringing individuals into? And a couple things we've done, of course, we've got to send things remotely. Like we don't get to sit down and have that face-to-face conversation the way we used to, but we are trying to engage virtually even more frequently so that people do feel comfortable. So we set up time to say, okay, we're going to send you some documentations, and one of my staff members will have a conversation, set time, and let me talk to you. Let me tell you what it's like a little bit to be working for BSIT, to be here. And we, try to make ourselves available, because we know even more during this time, it can be it's just a very strange way to get oriented to a company when everybody else was used to being there and being in person. So we'll do that. We have more formal check-ins. We have a lot of informal check-ins, or we're just seeing how you're doing. I'll put time on the calendar of a new hire and say, hey, let's chat. And then Mandy, to your point, so we started doing we have a lunch and learn series that we had been doing in person. We moved it to virtual. It was maybe 3 weeks after we started working remotely when we had our first one. And one of our staff members in that lunch and learn shared he'd been spending a very extended amount of time every day sitting in the same location, working, not really engaging. And we're all now in an environment where people are isolated in ways that we aren't used to. So even people who are used to working remote, usually there was some type of outlet that was there that doesn't exist. So that whole focus on the employee and making sure we're checking in with them, it may seem silly, and it's not for everyone, but we've started making very deliberate attempts to engage and connect with people. So some of the specific things we do, we are like, put your camera on. Like when we're having a meeting, for the most part, we have the cameras on. We may call somebody like impromptu on video chat, just the way like you would stop by someone's office. We're starting a book club. We're starting, we have this thing called Chat and Chew. One of my staff members came up with that name, and I'm still trying to get it straight. But but every single Friday, we have this dedicated time, 12 to 1, where we'll do different things during that time. And it seems like sometimes I don't think people recognize how important those things are, especially in a difficult time like this, when we are less isolated than before. So, and it's just the constant talking about, is this it? What should we do now? And then to get back to the question about how we're engaging our people who are coming on board, because we're open, providing those spaces, we're able to loop some of those new employees into those spaces and help them feel like they're really engaging as part of this team.
I'd love to piggyback off of that, if that's all right. There's so much good stuff that both of you guys are saying, and I think that an overarching theme here in terms of this communication is that the communication that we've all been forced into right now. Like I know in a panel earlier, people were saying that one of the number one things that they're doing right now is increased communication from that C-suite level. These are always best practices. And one of the, very silver linings of this inherently really challenging situation is that it's forced all of us to increase that communication. And, John and Luke are talking about it, like they're seeing the benefits of it right away. And so I think one really important thing to note when you're talking about this extra communication is these are habits that you can carry forward into your employee experience forever, right? This increased communication. And one note that I would love to make to Vanessa's question about how do you bring new hires in? How do you talk to them about this? A great onboarding strategy, and what we've been working with a lot of our clients for return to work plans and reboarding. And one of the things I like to demystify is this is just a new opportunity for perfecting your ongoing onboarding strategy, right? Part of a great onboarding strategy is looking at, notating, and then giving information about all of your internal communication systems. So how do we use email? What are our boundaries? And Kursten, you were talking a lot about new boundary setting, which is just happening so much here. What are our boundaries around video chats? Are you expected to have your camera on? All of that information. You can actually take the time to look internally at your organization and say, what do we do that rocks? What do we do that makes this a great place to work, that encourages these conversations, and articulate that either in a kind of like, depending on the culture of your organization, a handbook or a goofy onboarding video that's like, here's how we use Slack when we're just chit-chatting, and here's how we use our channels in Slack. but really taking the time to codify and convey that to your team, that's not lost work. You're going to be able to hand that off to new hires forever. And so I think that that's something really important to note. The other small thing about that is that this is where mentorship and peer mentorship is also super helpful, because if you can not just say, here's what we do, but you can actually set up, welcome to the team. I know you're in the sales department, but here's your peer mentor all the way in the programming department, and like just grab lunch. They're going to naturally learn how these systems work, but intentionally setting up those opportunities. You can't force relationships, but you can create opportunities for relationships. Doing that is super helpful. And again, the beauty of this is, yes, we might be putting focus on it now when it wasn't a focus before, but it's not lost work. You're going to have this as part of your employee experience, your employer brand, and your company culture moving forward. So it's kind of an empowering way to look at the situation.
Great. And yeah, we might have had another panelist trying to join, so that leads into another one of our Q&As here. I think, Nicole asked about, are folks considering ad hoc support services for employees to complement this unpredictable nature of remote work, home office, equipment, child and dependent care, all these things that I was really struck this week by, seeing a Great Places to Work list kind of come out, I think from Inc. or a publication like that. And, just thinking about how the things that you would find on there have kind of changed in this, in this moment. So, anyone considering those kinds of, different and new kinds of services and really how they talk about them at this time?
Yeah, I can talk to that a little bit. So yeah, one of the things that shifting from being in the office and to now remote, it's really easy to kind of have really cool perks in the office and draw people into, based on, having snacks or cool water machines or whatever it be. But if one thing that we've done, it's super simple, but we gave everybody an allowance for Grubhub each month. So, we know we can't go out to lunches with each other anymore, but, we do have lunch and learns around the office, and we've continued those even virtually. So we like to make it to where, well, at least you can order lunch and we can pretend like we're eating with each other. So simple things like that has really helped, keep some engagement. But we've been doing the virtual happy hours since early on, and those have been a really, really good way to drive engagement with everybody. Same with the new employees that we've had start during this. It's just a nice casual way for people to get to know each other. But we're continually trying to come up with new ideas in this. Sometimes with tragedy comes a really cool innovation. And I guess that's the silver lining in this, is that in the future, we have a whole new suite of fun ideas that we can use regardless of what's going on. And it's definitely, I think so far it seems like people really, really enjoy some of the things that we've been doing.
Yeah, we're really, oh, go ahead.
No,
I was going to say, we're really lucky that we have an amazing office manager who feels a little bit like, she's lost her baby. Like the office is like her, and she's really put so much of that energy into just keeping the team connected. So like the business leaders can focus on moving the business forward and making sure that we aren't missing a beat, strategically, but having Kelly, running point on the culture things and just the infusing the fun has been really awesome. So, and given her, a way to continue to feel like she can keep us all connected. So that's been, and she's amazing. She's, the rock of our team, but even more so now, you'd think that she wouldn't be busy given that there's no office right now, but she's incredibly, her value is even more important right now, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. Anything specific for home office or childcare or help? Always interested in those kind of more structural, I guess, so to speak, things as well. So.
I would say we're seeing a a lot of clients talk to us about how to reallocate their fringe benefits budgets. So there's, your benefits package, which is a huge part of your employer brand, is not only your traditional benefits, right? But it's your fringe benefits. John, I love this Grubhub allowance idea. I think that's brilliant. And then it's also your employee experience, right? That day-to-day experience. And to Mandy's point, that's why this makes it very clear that an office manager's position, why that position is so valuable, is not because they're the person who like intercepts your package at the front door. It's because they're the person that is in charge of what is your day-to-day experience like in your job. And so, with our clients, we do a lot of different type of programming, from like meditation and happy hours and all of that. And what we've been seeing is a huge spike in community-based, a few less cooking demos, a few more trivias, happy hours, scavenger hunts, a lot of mindfulness and meditation, all of that. But specifically to ergonomics, we've been having a lot of our clients looking at their fringe benefits budget and saying, what are the top 3 ergonomic purchases that we can give people credits for? So I'll show off my little ergonomic keyboard right here. So it's everything from keyboards to, we even do like workshops about how to make your own standing desk. So those small investments in your team, getting them an ergonomic keyboard, an ergonomic mouse, right? The upright go, which is like this little thing you put on your back that helps you notice your posture. Those are not just great because it's great to have your employees with healthier posture, but it's because you are listening to what your employees are asking for, and then you're giving that to them. And so I would say, in terms of these benefits, you don't have to guess what people need. Ask them. Put out these surveys and ask people not just about how they're feeling, what information do they need, but what support do they need, and then build a new fringe benefit package around that, and know that it can be adaptable and change with the time.
One of the things that we found was that, some of the money that we were doing normally to Tuesday lunch or whatnot, when we would take our companies out to lunch, they're like, hey, I'm cool. I can buy myself my lunch. And so we've used that money and we've donated to nonprofits. So, we really care about education, and there's a nonprofit called No Kid Hungry that really makes sure the kids that get a lot of it, there's 30% of the US population gets their meals at school, and they're not getting those meals right now. So our company got really energized about donating kind of the typical lunch budget back to kind of a nonprofit that was very impactful. That worked out really well. To Anna's point, we tried a virtual meditation session that was pretty popular. We're trying to keep finding new things that resonate with people. We're kind of just keep trying to figure it out. It's hard. We want to tell them that we're listening and that we're being present. The biggest thing we're preaching right now is flexibility right now, and really just trust right now. We trust everyone and we want to be flexible right now. And if we can establish those two things, I think we're going to build, really good inroads with everyone.
Yeah, and to add to that, so this isn't a fringe benefit or a specific benefit, it's more like a soft benefit. So that flexibility, that work-life balance, I think we're all seeing, we all recognize we're having to balance things that we didn't have to balance in a way that we have to do now. And so like the fact that we're able to be on this meeting right now, and we've got our kids are able to, like, they're in the background and it's okay. Like we had, I don't know if you all know that Take Your Child to Work Day was last month, right? We were in May. And so we usually have an event where we have the kids come. So we had an all hands meeting that day, and we had the parents bring their kids to our meeting, and we talked to the kids for our all hands, just to help support that. We know that it's a different situation out there. We know it looks different for us to be able to work right now, and really trying to impress upon the staff that we care about that, and we're not blind to that. So I think that's another, it's not the benefit that you have that's on your check, but it's the benefit that as a culture, and as you understand that we understand our employees and we are thinking about their wellness.
I was talking to a colleague yesterday, and he kind of used this phrase that I really liked. But he's like, "This is kind of like the end of business theater, right? Like we're all in our homes, we're all exposed. Like your kids are climbing on your head, and so yeah, it was like such a perfect way of capturing that. Like and I think in a good way, we probably won't go back fully to like kind of that pretending that everything is normal in your life. You know, you're going to have the kids screaming in the background. You're going to have all those things. About half of our team, we're small still, but about half of our team were parents. So now it's just pretty routine that kids pop up in screens and meetings, or I had to lean over, you know, during a meeting yesterday and like open a container for my daughter, you know, and it's all fine. And pets are a good bonus too.
Oh, yes. Pets, as I wrote in a headline, pets are still very good, even in a pandemic. So, great. Yeah, I think we're at time. I do want to get to all the questions. Of course, maybe I'm going to be an NPR host here and ask a philosophical question with 30 seconds left. But does anyone want to take? So, if you know, owning the small business or running teams, you know, how are you collecting feedback right now from employees, and how do you think about how to use that? Anyone want to take that one?
Yeah, so I think, you know, in this day and age, there's so many great tools available for collecting feedback. And we've used a wide number of them. We do, you know, I mentioned the Employee Net Promoter Score survey earlier. I think that's a really good one to collect anonymous feedback. And it's something that I think every company should do, you know, regularly, pandemic or not. And then we've also been, you know, every time we have a all hands or a discussion or some news even about the situation, we send a survey out to the company to get feedback out about it, or even beforehand, make sure that we're answering questions that people want to hear. And then, you know, beyond anonymous surveys, we're constantly sending out questions in Slack channels, emails, just, you know, making sure that we give everybody a chance to get their voice heard, and everybody has a different comfort level on how they want to kind of voice their opinion. So make sure you give your employees whatever option they best feel they can have to get how they feel about what's going on to you.
Yeah, I agree. I think that small businesses, in some ways, it's easier to collect feedback because you're having conversations with these people every day. But kind of like the mission statement, it's not necessarily about how you do it. It's about the fact that you do it and the fact that you listen. And so what I typed in the response to this question was, as a leader, you're always going to make the best decision that you believe for your company. But the question was really like, how far do you take, you know, employee input? And it's in our philosophy, we say use data to guide, not grade, right? So it's about how many data points can you use to make the most impactful decision. And so I think that even as a small business owner, having these conversations, whether it's an anonymous pulse survey, to John's point, you want the feedback that people don't want to tell you to your face. So what, you know, having multiple lines of feedback, looking at that feedback as a way to better understand the diverse perspectives you have in your organization, it means a lot, not just because you're going to make better decisions, but because people understand that they can come to you and they can engage with you and they will be heard, versus if those questions aren't asked, it's really, really easy psychologically for the best employees to check out.
Great.
A super small, like tactical thing is that we've always had is a founder AMA Slack channel. So it's literally just giving people the permission, like literally ask me anything. And so, you know, following, you know, our founders will always plug that like at the end of an all hands or when there's new information coming out. And people tends to take some really like heady questions to that channel where everyone can follow along, which is great.
And Mandy, I was almost didn't want to take this question because it was such a non sequitur, but you gave me an opening. So any other great Slack channels that have come out of this for you all? Or
we have one that we spun up. We have a trivia channel with a trivia bot because we're competitive, and also a recommended channel has sprung up out of this because you know, everyone's looking for content, podcasts, books, shows, whatever. So it's like a place to say like, here's this great new show or book that I found and stumbled upon.
Cool.
Yeah,
We
actually, oh, go ahead, John.
Oh, thanks. We created one called Couch Potato Tamer. And we actually started a like a wellness challenge around it. So we have some really, obviously a software company have some really smart engineers. They figured out a plugin to have Strava data dump over into the Couch Potato Tamer channel. So we've been kind of having a friendly competition around a couple teams who can get the most miles in each day. So it's been a fun way to get everybody out of the house.
Yeah, we actually, one of the first things we did was we launched a Slack channel that's just a public Slack channel. It's called Happy at Home. And we just share tidbits, everything. And we've opened it up to all of our clients and anyone can join in. And that's been part of, we put together this remote, virtual, free, wellness suite for anybody who wants to access it right now. And that's been one of the most popular parts of it because people share everything from like cute videos of the penguins in the shed aquarium, like exploring to, information about compassion fatigue and what that looks like. And I think, if you don't have either a Teams channel or a Slack channel already in your organization, you can do it by email too, but just giving people an opportunity and, to Mandy's point, permission to share things that make them smile right now, a little bit goes a long way.
Yeah, I think we're not far away from where folks in their interviews are going to be asking, so what's your favorite Slack channel in the company? What gets the most traffic? Great. Well, yeah, I think we are at time. I've been told to hold fast to 10 till so we can give folks a little bit of a break. But I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. And we're really excited about the rest of the afternoon as well. If folks want to hang around, we do have a keynote with Arlen Hamilton, who founder of Backstage Capital, coming up later, which I'm personally really excited about it. And, yeah, we got great stuff coming up for the rest of the afternoon. So stick around, as they say. And thank you to all of our panelists. This was a great conversation, and let's go forward and keep delivering on mission. So
thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
take care.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.